Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, The College Process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep, and today we're going to be going over federal student loans are going back into repayment. What do you need to do? But before we begin, if you are new to the channel and are looking for additional college content, please hit the subscription button down below. It will notify you when new videos do come out. As well as, once again, every Friday going forward, any questions you guys leave on this video here or any of the videos here on the channel, we'll be making a specific video answering all your questions and uploading that video in detail so you guys have all your questions answered every Friday going forward. So any questions you have here on this video, please leave them down below. I will be answering them in video format and putting it back here on YouTube. In addition to that, once again, we are still continuing running the James Russo Memorial Scholarship. If you guys want more information about our scholarship program, very simple. Down below in the description is the video link for the James Russo Memorial Scholarship, allowing us to explain to you guys how our scholarship program works here at Principia. As well as also down below in the description is the organization's Venmo, as well as Buyers of Coffee, if you want to help support the channel, allowing us to keep making these college videos for you guys out there. And all that being said, let's jump right into today's video. Federal student loans are going back into repayment, what you need to do. Now, with basically about a month left to go before the Supreme Court makes its ruling on the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness program, and then for those who are still new to this or unaware, obviously the Biden administration had put in place a student loan forgiveness for federal student loans of $10,000 all the way up to $20,000, obviously based on a few factors, mostly based on the income of the student themselves and or the parent if the student was still in school. And obviously these families, they were bound to get the $10,000 or $20,000 off of the student loan forgiveness based on income contingencies. We're obviously very happy this happened, so on and so forth. But unfortunately, because of political powers and struggles and infighting, whatever you want to call it, this has actually been put on the back burner. And very likely, unfortunately, the best case scenario is the Supreme Court does step up and say, yes, we're going to allow this to go through. Obviously something we're hoping for. And by the way, I don't have any student loans, so if you watch these videos, you realize this benefits me in no way, but it does benefit a lot of students out there to allow them to alleviate the amount of debt they have to then obviously go on and start their lives. Now, the federal student loan is reopening again, and unfortunately the repayment process very likely starting up in a couple of months here. There's a couple things you all need to start doing right now if you do have any federal student loans whatsoever, whether they're federal direct loans, whether they're Stafford loans, grad loans, or plus loans, parent loans, obviously. You guys need to do basically three different things. Now, right off the bat, one thing I've been talking about in many of my videos before about the student loan forgiveness process was if you guys were able to save up any amount of money, especially if you can get to that $10,000 level or $20,000 level in the savings accounts to have in their sidelines, I'd be looking to keep adding to that amount until I got to the point where I can pay off as much of my student loan debt as possible, specifically the federal student loan as possible, because of the fact that obviously right now until a decision is coming in from the Supreme Court, 60 days after the decision comes in, so let's essentially call it end of August, early September, that's when the repayment process starts on all federal loans. The federal direct loans, the Stafford loans, the parent plus loans, the grad plus loans, all these federal loans go from having a zero rate back to going to the interest rate they were at before. And these interest rates will vary obviously anywhere between 4 to 8%. So obviously it's a big jump from going from zero rates all the way to let's say 7 or 8% on some of the higher rates, such as the parent plus loan and the grad plus loans. So that being in the mix, obviously one of the things we talked about in previous videos and I'm telling you to do right now, the first thing is get ready to make a big payment if you can. Reason being is any payment you send to them will knock down the entire principal by that amount. So it is very beneficial that you guys go forward and make a payment before the repayment starts, if you cannot. This will obviously not just reduce the principal you owe, but this will also help out because of the fact that once you reduce your debt amount, the amount you have to pay every month going forward will also be reduced. So the amount you're paying right now without making that principal payment or without making a big payment towards it, whatever that number is, that's the number. Going to be that number in September or in August, whenever this whole thing restarts. But if you're able to minimize that number and bring it down so you minimize the amount of interest you have growing once the repayment starts, that's obviously a win for you guys. And then number two thing you want to do is you want to contact your lenders. The reason you want to contact your lenders is to figure out right off the bat, what do I even have to pay? Many families have obviously not been making any payments or did not have to make any payments for now going on almost 3+ years now. So the fact that we haven't made any payments for over 3 years, essentially, many of us have no idea what we actually owe on a monthly basis because of the fact that you may have multiple federal loans out there. You might have a federal loan for freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. All three of those are 3 different payments. Now, even though your servicer might be the same for all 4 of those loans, those are 4 different payments you have to make. So you want to know where are we in the mix. Are we able to, if we're lucky, using strategy number 1, maybe pay off a year or 2, or maybe pay off a big chunk of it or a small chunk of it to then minimize the amount of debt payments we have to make every single month going forward. But obviously the reason we want to contact our servicer is right off the bat to figure out what do we need to pay going forward every month when this goes back in repayment right off the bat, number 1. And then number 2, if we do make any payments, you can even ask them so over the phone, if I make any payments prior to that, how much will my amount go down every month? So if I'm paying, let's say, $250 a month, but I send you guys $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000, does that $250 drop down to, let's say, $80, $90, maybe $50? You never know, but if you contact the lender, they'll let you know right over the phone, believe it or not, how much your payments are right now going forward once the repayment begins again, as well as how much they would be if you sent them a large payment amount, which is going to be beneficial for you guys to then reduce the burden every month going forward if you guys have the payments out of the way, obviously. The other thing you want to do, basically the third thing here, is figure out, sit down, do a budget, and consider, can we even afford these repayments starting forward, going back and again? Now, pretty much every parent, every student watching this will very likely go back into the standard 10-year repayment program, which basically means you're paying back your loan over a 10-year standard repayment, principal and interest every month going forward. Now, when you figure out your numbers, either by calling a lender or going online, etc., you need to sit down and figure out a budget. Are these numbers affordable? Can we do these numbers? And if we can't, we need to contact the lender immediately once the repayment starts and let them know, or at least when the window opens up and they say, okay, this is the date repayment starts, we need to contact them beforehand, early on, let them know we're not able to make these payments because of certain reasons. Typically, they'll accept reasons like unemployment or not working as far as a student, or the parent for Parent Plus loans, and we can start asking for additional consideration of repayment terms. Now, right off the bat for students, I would be looking at the income contingency repayment programs, the pay, the repay, and so on and so forth. Now, if you're unaware of the repayment programs that the income contingency programs has available to you as students, very simple, they're all right here. I'm going to put a link below down here. You guys can go to the link and read the different programs and figure out which one is beneficial for you guys. Because of the fact that if you're not working or you have a very low income, you can pay as little as 10 to 15% of your income. So the reality is, if you guys are unable to pay these loans back right now, I would start going right to doing the research on my situation, figuring out which one of the income contingency programs is best for us to allow us to pay the minimum we need to kind of alleviate the burden of having to make these payments right off the bat, starting in about 60 days or so. Now, that being said, if you guys do look into the income contingency programs, you have to realize that these are income contingency programs for a reason. Your income has to be low, typically around $45,000 to $50,000 or below every year going forward for the entire realm of the student loan income contingency program you are in. Below $50,000 every year for the next 15 years, for a lot of you guys, it's going to be very difficult. So this might be just kind of like a 1 or 2 year thing you do to get yourself a footing where you can actually make standard repayment programs to get out. Now, if you're considering, maybe we'll go down this route here, the income contingency, and just pay the bare minimum every year, you have to remember your income must be low, which is not something you're looking to do. Obviously, going to college, starting your career, building your network and everything else, your goal is to make more income, to provide for yourselves and your families, everything else, by making more of an income based on the fact you went to college. So in some cases, this will not work for a lot of you guys. My goal would be, if you have to use these or you're not ready just yet, is to find a way, budgeting or through the income contingency programs, to find a way to repay back these loans as aggressively as possible, especially considering the fact that there is no pre-penalty on any federal student loans whatsoever. Parent loans, grad loans, direct loans, Stafford loans, none of them have pre-penalty. So if the loan payment, let's say for you guys is, I don't know, $200 every month, and you're able to send $400, then send the $400 going forward to get yourselves out of the student loan federal programs as quickly as possible. And all that being said, thank you for watching today's video, as well as, once again, every Friday going forward, any questions you guys leave on this video here or any of the videos here on the channel, we'll be making a specific video answering all your questions and uploading that video in detail so you guys have all your questions answered every Friday going forward. So any questions you have here on this video, please leave them down below. I will be answering them in video format and putting it back here on YouTube.